Ghana has 45 prison establishments, including the prison headquarters, the prison officers training school, and senior correctional center. Ghana has a prison capacity of 9,945 prisoners. Currently, the total prison population is 15,203, which is 52.87% over the number of prisoners the prison can accommodate. Many prisoners out there in Ghana are in prison because they were guilty of committing petty offenses such as stealing little as 10 cedis or goods such as goats, chicken, personal effects, etc., just to fend for themselves.
Frederick Owusu, a prisoner, was sentenced to 7 years imprisonment for stealing money to fund a medical operation on his pregnant fiancée, or in default, pay a fine of 2,400 Ghana cedis.
Please, what's your name?
Frederick Owusu.
Please, how old are you?
31 years.
Where do you come from?
Kowum Plaisu.
Please, what made you, what offense did you commit?
Stealing. For Obisika. Rana watching me. No banety. Bana maneneti no. The kind of first one in operation. Tia huchirim. Wasan second one. Akoto moja bako miska obebia first wa omo me frɛ me ma me kola na me ka kire me se enkopa besia me fanya made me ka se me ma me pa na di misade we aya menya bi timi papa na okofa nsika na mesomene na yadwuma pen timi ni me how na me call no okofa nsika iska na me fa iska no na me de koye koto mu jana second one the man and sana mo ye no operation amaneti miawo.
How much did you steal?
20 million.
Did any family friend or family member visit you?
That be me call prison obia busuani danfo bia ntimi esi wa ma mesra me enko.
And did you have any legal representation?
That be.
How was life in prison?
Prison ya madam, prison ya papa sitran omo treaty ya ho no. Prison ya ni utama ya so da kura obeda. Prison ya pa tia yesme di tumi hofo se men kwasati bia ni mu bi me so makama ho tam se yakopon o yin ko ade ati bia no ya fi so men kwasati bia no fi se prison ya obi go better kasi prison ya bia obo prison ya fi 1 month na ma do fi prison asua bibi nso wom se masa ha no so ntumi biem.
Do you think the prison has helped you reform?
Prison there mama asachira me pa asachira prison pa esa ne dia ya ne dia ya le ma ne dia pa ma fam prison no masachira prison.
Now that you're out of prison, what would you like to do?
See, I do my person. Sanu Juma na kaminya ya me papa.
I went to interview an experienced lawyer Tunese, who has been in practice for over 20 years, to seek his perspective on the sentencing laws and some alternatives other than pay or jail. In your opinion, do you think it's about high time the sentencing laws are reviewed?
Yes, I am aware that government and also development partners have been worried about the inconsistencies in sentences over a long period of time. So what I mean is that sometimes you can have a high court somewhere in the country sentencing somebody who has stolen a goat to 5 years imprisonment. You can have another high court somewhere sentencing a person who has been convicted of stealing another goat to 6 months imprisonment. So you can see that there's a wide gap between the two sentences by the court. But I'm also aware that the actors have also been concerned with the almost exclusive or wide use of custodial sentences. So there has always been this advocacy to galvanize our people into action to develop alternative ways of punishing people who are convicted of crimes.
So there are other alternatives.
Certainly, you know, as you may be aware, in other regimes or in other jurisdictions, there are alternatives. You may be put on probation, you may be sentenced to work in the community, providing community service, and so forth. So for instance, you go to certain courtrooms and then you see electrical wires hanging, you see the window is broken and all that. And in that same courtroom, you have electricians having been convicted of certain petty crimes being sentenced to jail. You have carpenters being sentenced. So you can sentence these people, to doing some work to improve even the courtroom space. So there's always room for alternative ways of sentencing persons who have been convicted of different kinds of crimes.
Legal Aid Commission, formerly known as the Legal Aid Scheme, was established in 1987 following the passage of the PNDC law. The goal of the Legal Aid Commission is to provide legal services to the poor and vulnerable in society. Legal Aid has handled over 4 million cases since 1987. I interviewed Mr. Martin Amayao to shed more light on the challenges facing legal aid in Ghana.
Basically, the cases as at now, by the new Legal Aid Commission law, which was passed in 2018, we handle every manner of cases. And the bottom line is that the person must be an indigent or poor in the society. Challenges a lot, but key is office accommodation. Legal Aid as an institution, we don't have office accommodation anywhere. This place we are sitting belongs to the Council for Law Reporting. In the act of magnanimity, granted some office spaces there. So we are more or less squatters. The second challenge that is facing is staffing. As I stated, the law says you should be in all the districts. Meanwhile, the entire staff, from headquarters, Greater Accra, to the uppermost regions, is 161. So staffing is a big problem. Third and most important is mobility. As I speak to you, the whole of Ghana, Legal Aid has only one functional vehicle. From Accra to Paga, we have only one functional vehicle. And looking at our mandate, how can we service the poor and the needy in the communities? We don't have vehicles to move. This is a big challenge.
After paying the fines of the 6 prisoners, the various courts where they were sentenced issued warrants for their release. We're currently at the Wotu Camp prison to see to the release of the prisoners. After being released from prison, a counseling session was organized for the prisoners and a food package with stipend that will last them about a month were given out to all 6 of them. In order to better prepare and support the prisoners for life after prison, I decided to interview Father Campbell of Christ the King Parish to see what he's been doing to help the poor and needy in society.
Have you ever done any work concerning poor and marginalized people in prison?
Oh, I've been in prison. I've been looking after prisoners for many years now, since 1976. But it was 30 years. About 30 years I've been taking care of prisoners in Usher Fort, in James Fort Prison, and also James Camp. I used to play football with the Borstal boys in James Camp. In Usher Fort, in James Fort, I took care of them there for many, many, many years. And then at times we bring medicine. We used to bring medicine to the prisons, those who were in need. And I remember one time, there was one young boy came from Kumasi, and he had all pellets in his knees, and they had no transport to bring him to Kolibu Hospital. Every Friday I used to bring that boy under guard. The guard was behind him with the gun. And the boy was in handcuffs and he was hopping, and the guard behind him with the gun. I used to take him to Kolibu every week until he got all those pellets taken out of him. So I'm quite familiar with Usher Fort and James Fort Prison. I prepared people for the firing squad. I'd meet them before they'd go to the firing squad. I'd have confession with them and I'd pray with them. I give them encouragement. Yes, I've been involved with them for many, many, many years.
Ibrahim Sule decided to go into farming. He has been given accommodation and has started working on a rice and okra farm.
Adolfo Amohemi, Koda Prison, Kakra. So, and now, won't be a Teresia, me. Now, never part a day between the canning mammy and I'm free prison. So, me bano. Fatis and Camedia in Kruma. Oh, Achimoda. Assassinate friend of Papa Bonamani. Was him was a civil. I do Achim. My bedroom finds my bedroom in chain. Tibacham land, I'm Yina Nedia. I say, next week, Mimla, Pedem Bedouin Krumawa. We are him, we are Mufasa Diade, and my Tricia and the Bushan of Winner.
Frederick Owusu, one of the convicts released, is braced for life after prison. He has chosen to study masonry and specialize in tiling. He's currently being enrolled in the Youth Leadership and Skills Training Institute at Afenia.
So I bought me. Ama 19 year Juma, and then my news my business. I go part and some of Jumana Yambaso. And I have a pan banase. I know no. Camina has a may my business Jumawi. And I say, Pass Nacopa Yardom. I'm a Jumaya Basso. My friends Marco Somaya Jumanama. Bia be kutru. Ama, and Nimu was a year Jumanama or Nakasan and Passoa Bamaso. Ama. Damasepa, the Panabanase, Punshirano.
The Bible says, give a cup of cold water to the least of my brothers, you give it to me. My model and my inspiration in life is Mother Teresa. Mother Teresa worked with the very poor and the needy, and her motto was doing something beautiful for God. And everybody in Ghana should take care of a poor person. Everybody in Ghana should look after whatever poor in an institution or at home or poor family, whatever it is. Everybody should take care of the poor and needy. Those who have must share with the poor and the needy. So happiness comes from helping somebody. If you want to be happy, share with others. You want to be happy, share with the poor. Share with those who don't have. This is what will bring us happiness. And that's what we have to do in Ghana. Not just think of ourselves, my own happiness, my own luxury, my own. That's not important. You make somebody else happy. When you make somebody else happy, they will make you happy. So all I can do is to encourage people in Ghana, let's take care of the poorest of the poor. Let's take care of the marginalized. Let's take care of all the prisoners who need help, those in prison, those in different prisons. This is our command from Jesus. You know, when I was sick, did you visit me? When I was hungry, did you feed me? When I was in prison, did you visit me? We must do all of these. This is our role as a Christian. So what you're doing is wonderful. I'm so happy to see a young lady like you taking an interest in people. People look down on prisoners. They look down on them and they see them as it's your own fault as such and such. Maybe they stole something, they were hungry and they went and stole something. They had nothing to eat and they were caught, you know, and they suffered from it. You know, we who are well and we who are free, we should be blessed. We should help those who are in need. So what you're doing, and you know, is wonderful. I commend you for it. That you're doing very well to think of others. People don't think of them in prison. The families at times wouldn't even visit them in the prison. Wouldn't even mind them. You know, you're there, so stay there. You deserve to be in prison. So what you're doing is very good, and I congratulate you on. And say well done and keep it up, that when you finish school also come and help the poor and the needy.
A project that I decided to embark on, which is based on the sole purpose of wanting to help people who are vulnerable in society due to how society is structured, whereas lack of education, broken family structures, where family members are sometimes rejected because they can't fit in, or they simply committed petty or minor offenses. The title of this project is Ghana's Justice System and its Effect on the Poor and Underprivileged, where the goal is to release petty offenders, men 20 to 60 years old, who from the Owutu camp prison, who couldn't pay their fines due to poor backgrounds, through the raising of awareness and funds. In order to raise these funds, I sent letters and posters to friends and family who were close to me, I guess. My target was to raise 12,000 Ghana cedis, but thankfully, because many people contributing each day, I was able to raise 14,284 Ghana cedis. Part of the money was used to pay the fines of 6 prisoners from the prison who couldn't pay their fines, and the rest was used for other costs. The main reason why I decided to embark on this project were because of these 2 stories that I'm going to talk about. One story was from Joy News, which was about a 72-year-old man who was put in prison. He was put in prison because he was having marijuana. He was on marijuana. The thing is that he was using the marijuana to treat a condition in his legs. So because he couldn't pay his fine, he was instead put in jail for 5 years. Another story that really saddened me was about a boy who was jailed 25 years just because of 10 Ghana cedis. This really saddened me because for a small boy, probably my age, to be jailed for that long is just not necessary in my opinion. Looking at these 2 stories, saw that there might be other people like this in our society. So I decided to research more about these people and figure out recommendations or other alternatives that these petty offenders can go through instead of going to jail and spending a long majority time of their life just in prison for such a small and petty offense. I humbly call upon His Lordship, the Chief Justice, Ministry of Justice and Attorney General, and other institutions responsible for the justice delivery in our country to take a look at our sentencing laws in regard to petty and minor offenses and come up with alternatives such as supervised community service, reasonable fines that are proportionate to the crime committed, probation. Even though probation is reserved for first-time juvenile offenders, we can and should make an exception for first-time offenders of poor background and of all ages. I believe that having other alternatives rather than the regime of pay hefty fine or jail would be of great help to the country, as it will save money and scarce resources. The money that is used in the upkeep of our prisoners could be used for other sectors needing funding. 2, supervised community services. The prisoners could be giving vital services to our community by, for example, sweeping up our streets to help with our sanitation problem, or filling up the potholes, etc. Lastly and importantly, it will decongest our prisons, as there will be less petty offenders here in prison. Thank you.